Stephen Grant works at the British Museum in London, where he hopes to become a tour guide using his knowledge of ancient Egypt. After going to sleep one night, he wakes up in the Austrian Alps and witnesses a cult meeting led by Arthur Harrow, who demands a scarab Grant unknowingly has in his possession. As he attempts to escape, he has several blackouts and hears a mysterious voice in his head before waking up in his home. Grant realizes that 2 days have passed since he went to sleep. He finds a hidden phone and keycard in his apartment and receives a call from the most frequent number in the phone's call log, a woman named Layla, who addresses him as Mark. The next day at work, Grant is confronted by Harrow, who reveals that he is a servant of the Egyptian goddess Ammit. Grant escapes from Harrow, but is forced to remain at work that night on his own to make up for being late. Harrow summons a jackal-like creature to attack Grant, but his reflection asks to take control of their body. Grant agrees, transforming into a cloaked warrior who kills the jackal. Grant is blamed for the damage caused by the jackal creature due to it not appearing on the museum's security cameras, and is fired. He uses the keycard to access a storage locker where he finds the scarab. He speaks with his reflection, another identity in Grant's body, that introduces himself as American mercenary Marc Spector, the current avatar of the Egyptian moon god Khonshu. Grant is confronted by Layla, Spector's wife, who was unaware of Grant's existence, before being arrested by police officers working for Harrow. Harrow reveals that he was Khonshu's previous avatar until he chose instead to follow Ammit. He explains that he wants to use the scarab to find Ammit's tomb and resurrect her so she can purge humanity of evil by wiping out everyone who has or will commit evil deeds. Layla rescues Grant, but Harrow summons another jackal creature. Grant manages to summon a suit of his own to fight the jackal, but is overpowered and allows Spector to take control. Spector kills the jackal but loses the scarab to Harrow. Khonshu threatens to claim Layla as his next avatar if Spector fails to stop Harrow. Harrow and his followers discover the location of Ammit's tomb in the Egyptian desert. In Cairo, Spector and Grant both experience blackouts while tracking a lead to Harrow's location. After failing to gain information, Khonshu calls a council between his fellow Egyptian gods and their avatars to warn them of Harrow's plans, but Harrow successfully denies the accusation. Hathor's avatar, Yatzil, tells Spector to find the sarcophagus of a Medjay who knew of the location of Ammit's tomb. Layla finds Spector and takes him to meet with Anton Mogart, an acquaintance who owns the sarcophagus. Harrow arrives and destroys it, forcing Spector, Grant, and Layla to fight off Mogart's men and escape into the desert. Grant assembles some of the sarcophagus fragments into a star map, but it is 2,000 years out of date. Khonshu uses his powers to briefly turn back the night sky to the correct night, allowing Grant and Layla to find Ammit's tomb. The other gods imprison Khonshu for this, leaving Grant and Spector's body without Khonshu's powers. Grant and Layla find a deserted campsite at the location of Ammit's tomb, which is a maze in the shape of the Eye of Horus. They discover that some of Harrow's men have been killed by undead Egyptian priests, who then attack Grant and Layla. Layla defeats the priests but encounters Harrow, who claims that Spector was one of the mercenaries who murdered her archaeologist father. Grant finds the tomb and discovers that Ammit's last avatar was Alexander the Great. He retrieves Ammit's Ushabti from inside Alexander's body. Layla angrily confronts Spector, who reveals that his partner killed Layla's father, and Spector himself, before Khonshu revived Spector as his avatar. Harrow arrives and shoots Spector, who wakes up in a psychiatric hospital populated by people from his life. After escaping from Harrow, who appears as a therapist at the hospital, Spector finds Grant in a separate body, trapped in a sarcophagus. They also see a second sarcophagus with someone else trapped inside, before being greeted by a female hippopotamus-headed figure. The hippopotamus-headed woman is the Egyptian goddess Taweret, who explains that Spector and Grant are dead, and the psychiatric hospital is a boat sailing through the Duat, the Egyptian afterlife. She weighs their hearts on the scales of justice to determine whether they can enter the field of reeds, but the hearts are imbalanced by hidden memories that she suggests they explore together. Grant sees a memory of Spector's younger brother Randall drowning, and Spector's mother blaming him for it, while Spector shows Grant how he became Khonshu's avatar, while on a mission with his partner Bushman, who murdered Layla's father. Spector and Grant convince Taweret to help them return to the living world so they can stop Harrow, and she steers the boat towards the gates of Osiris. Spector reluctantly explains that he unknowingly created Grant as a result of their mother's abuse. Grant and Spector reconcile with each other, but their scales fail to balance, and hostile spirits attack them, dragging Grant into the Duat where he turns to sand. The scales balance, and Spector finds himself in the field of reeds. Harrow kills the avatars of the other Egyptian gods and frees Amit. Layla finds Khonshu's Ushabti and releases him. Spector refuses to stay in the field of reeds and returns to the Duat to rescue Grant. With Taweret's help, they escape through the gates of Osiris and awaken in their body. Khonshu rebonds with them, restoring their powers. Layla discovers that Amit can be rebound by multiple avatars and agrees to become the temporary avatar of Taweret. They join Spector, Grant, and Khonshu in fighting Harrow and Amit. Harrow overpowers Spector and Grant, but they experience a blackout during which time they somehow defeat Harrow. Spector and Layla seal Amit in Harrow's body, imprisoning her, and Khonshu urges Spector to execute Harrow and Amit. Spector refuses and orders Khonshu to release him and Grant from their service. The pair find themselves in the hospital, where they reject the vision and choose to continue their new life protecting the world. In a mid-credit scene, Harrow and Amit are killed by Jake Lockley, Spector's third alter ego, who is still working with Khonshu.